Well, today it's great to have some time with my colleague and the spark plug around my life, Mike Knapp, who just gets things done. And we had a conversation last week that started, Mike, about taking time off and the value of it in for everyone, but especially for those that work in the creative world where your job just can fill your life if you want. And I told you a story before this call about one of my sons commenting that in a bench in Disneyland was where I would go sit while they would enjoy Disneyland, and I would do conference calls. And that hit me, and that really reminded me how much of a recovering workaholic I just am always going to be. And you had some ideas about what work brings and what time off brings in terms of energy and where you can go as a result of taking time off.
And first, we are two members of a very large club, and it's the club of recovering workaholics. And just like any addiction, you're never actually clear of it. You're always recovering. I went through a period of burnout to the point where it almost killed me in my 20s. So working the 100 hours a week while trying to maintain everything else in life, not sleeping, basically destroyed me. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life recovering from that. I still have that twitch. I should be working. I should be doing something. I should be. And then hearing your story about Disneyland hit me real hard in the feels. I've got two little girls, and being disconnected from work, something that for the longest time defined who I was, is incredibly hard. So yeah, hearing, your son talk about are you going to go to the bench for your conference calls while at the so-called happiest place on earth, at least happiest for the kids.
Right.
Ouch. And, in the back of my head, I intellectually and emotionally know that there's a better way. Sometimes physically and mentally and intellect and whatever, I'm not as good at it. But it's like, there's something that we have to realize as leaders. And how important that time off is just, it's off the charts. So here we just came off of a long weekend here in Canada. I did something very rare, and I took 5 days off.
We were shocked.
It was hard. I might have answered an email or two, but generally speaking, I stayed away from that side of the world. And I'm not saying I wasn't twitching at times, but there was some beautiful stuff that happened. For 5 days, I wasn't defined by what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I was defined by the time I was spending with my girls. Now, there is that other bucket, the self bucket that we talked about. I'm still not very good at, but but all that time with the girls was so incredibly valuable, and for myself and for them. And what I found as I was taking that time off is things were processing in my head, not because they're being forced to do so like they are at work, but because there was the opportunity for them. My brain was relaxing. It was becoming creative again. It was starting to navigate all that stuff that I had built up, get rid of the plaque and get back into the fun creative areas. And this morning has been incredibly productive for me. You would hate to see the Asana list that I'm building, but I've got some big stuff that I'm planning out. And it's not because I worked hard to figure it out, but because I spent yesterday at the beach watching the girls make sandcastles and didn't put no force into it at all. Now, we were talking, Dave, I'm a little jealous. You got the truck, the old, cool, truck that you get to go wrench on all the time. I'm not jealous of the fact they're wrenching, because I'm one of those people, I'll bash my knuckles every single time I try to turn a wrench. But just the idea of doing
Part of
it
it.
is part of it. What do you find happens for you when you go spend an extended period of time in your man cave working on your truck?
What's really fantastic about it is that we, in our world, there are so few things that we do that we can see the start, the middle, and the end in a short period of time.
I got to interrupt you here. It's a classic car. There's never an end.
Exactly. But there is. If you're replacing the fuel pump,
Mm-hmm.
you can, the package arrives from Amazon, the endorphins go through, you're like, I can do this. I can get the engine going again. And you go down there and you focus on it. You're not worried about whether or not it, there's something that's going to follow it up and you have to do something. You're just focused on that task and getting to a success. But while you're doing it, your brain runs in the background. There is no doubt in my mind. I was also telling you that I found back in the days when I did coding for a living that I could close my computer, go home overnight, and a problem that took an hour and 2 hours the day before and seemed insolvable, in 5 minutes I fixed the next day. Your brain starts to sort through the stuff on its own. You know more about this than I do. That you just made this big jumble, and it starts to filter and sort out what matters, and you come back with an answer. And that's really what working on the truck does. That's what cutting the lawn does for me. I actually enjoy cutting the lawn for the same reason. I can see the start, I can see the finish, and you often come away with ideas that are just humming in your for you while it's going on. So those things really, really matter, and you need those things. You need to have the short things, the long-term things that are going to give your mind a chance to sort out what matters.
And those things are kind of like a meditation in some ways. Really, it's about relaxing your brain and keeping it and getting it moving again, getting it unstuck. Right. So and then it will naturally do what it does. The more you try to control it, the harder things become. I remember way back pre-COVID when we were allowed to take vacations abroad. My last vacation, I went to Mexico, and we got there and discovered the resort had no Wi-Fi. And
tragedy.
Both me and my wife having a little bit of a panic attack, because here we're going to be a week with 2 chaos machines and no Wi-Fi, and so no email, no nothing. I remember at first, there was the fidgeting, the twitching, the not being sure what we were going to do with ourselves, but by the end of it, when I got home, the clarity I had, all the crap was gone. The creativity was back. The energy was back. And right. I probably made your guys' lives a living hell for about 2 months.
Kind of remember that, yeah.
But the focus, it's so easy to focus again. Mm-hmm. We talk about taking short breaks and taking long breaks. And the short breaks are incredibly important. And that's the 15 minutes, the quick going for a walk, the few breaths of meditation, the walking the dog, or even the working on the truck in the evening.
Right.
Enough to recharge yourself to go into the next day. Then the long breaks are where you get the real value in, because that's when your mind starts to become more calm, the stress levels come down, and you can start handling load again. Because we end up, with this 400-pound backpack on our backs. And this is, and it's all the stress from work and just all the constant demands and everything else that's happening, and COVID and our families, and
don't forget the dog.
Don't forget the dog, yeah. That backpack gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And that short break takes a couple pounds off of it. But then a few more come on that same day. The week off, the 2 weeks off, the 5 days where I didn't answer email takes 50 pounds off, but doesn't put more pounds on.
Right.
And that's where we get to fly again.
Yeah.
And we truly create value when we're able to be passionate and creative and leverage our strengths, really be energetic around them. Can't do that when you're stressed.
One of the things that I did, Mike, after you and I talked about this subject last week, was I just a little running around online looking at what some of the current writing is saying about this stuff. And the overriding message to managers and owners and team leaders is this is an area where, considering the times we're in, and even before that, you have to take leadership. You have to make sure that you show that you can manage and schedule your time to take these breaks, and it helps. And that for your team members, you make sure that they are taking that time and they are getting that value. I think that jumped out at me too when we talked to our clients and our colleagues, making sure that we take leadership and help everyone understand the value.
With every business leader I talk to in the one-on-one coaching, and they say so-and-so has been incredibly difficult or been less productive or been whatever, I turn around and say, okay, what do you think's going on for them right now? And are they actually taking the time is one of those factors. And when you're working from home and you don't have that separation and you don't have commute time and you're a little bit more dived in, but your stress levels are already up here because of COVID, you're drowning all the time.
Pretty easy to snap.
So, I remember when, in this period, there's been a couple of times where I've been like, I'm just going to take the day off or the afternoon off or whatever, because I need it.
Yeah.
And we all kind of need that a little more right now.
I think so. Well, Mike, this is a subject we could carry on for a long time, but I have to go take some time off now. So
sounds fantastic. Thanks for the great chat, Dave.
All right, great. And you have a good week.
You too.
Okay.